Hey guys, welcome to Ideas Every Day, and today I'm going to teach you how to make a wireless charging station for your phone. Now it is a very simple build. It just takes a little bit of a couple parts and sanding down. It does take, you got to try it and sand it, try it and sand it. But I do give you some tips of how to get it just right. It also includes this nice little light depending on the device that you buy to do this build. But without further ado, let's get to the build. Hey guys, the first thing that you got to do is measure out the boards that you're going to use, and I'm going to use one that's about 8 inches and a second one that's going to be about 5 inches for the base. Now this depends on your phone, the phone that you have, and how you want it to be laid out. Now for this project you are going to need a little piece of hardware you're going to buy beforehand, and it's just a wireless charger. I will put the description down below of the one that I bought, and all you got to do is rip out the, usually they have a little rubber thing on the bottom. It exposes two or three screws. You unscrew them and you've taken the whole thing apart. And I do recommend to get a cheap one and don't get an expensive one, so that way you don't feel bad about taking it apart. Now at this step, I am actually figuring out how I'm going to do this. The first thought that I had in my mind was try to make it an inlay, and this actually proves to be harder than just said. So you're gonna see me how I'm gonna switch to actually just cutting out an entire square in the middle, and what I'm gonna do is little by little chip it out and then chisel out and sand it down. Now I'm doing this so I can actually fit the entire thing, and what I'm gonna do is put a little very thin piece of plywood or any wood that you have. It has to be extremely thin. Now for this, I recommend you to actually cut out that piece of plywood that you're going to use for the top, or what you call the bit where the phone's going to rest, and you're actually going to sand it down until you can actually get the phone to receive the charge through the piece of wood. Now it is very hard. I do recommend even like balsa wood, like whatever you can find, the thinnest that you can find, that will be your best option. I did have a little piece laying around, and I just kept going at it until it actually worked. And this is very crucial because if it's too thick, your phone will not charge. Now through this process, you're gonna see me try to fit everything just the way it should and the way I want it to lay out. It does take a lot of trying out, a lot of thinking of how you want it to look, how you want it to be, and it's just trial and error. You're gonna see me do this, and then you're gonna see me go back and cut more off because it just didn't fit. And these are the things that you're gonna experience. Now this is actually an easy build, but it's gonna take a very long time because of this step right here, which is making sure that everything fits nice. And I can tell you it's definitely worth the time. Now for this part, what I am doing is actually cutting out a little socket, you might want to say, is a little hole, a pocket hole where the actual charging base of the wireless charger thing, the device, it actually has like a little stick out part, so that's where it has to land. And I'm actually I'm gonna drill a hole straight through it as well, to the back, so the cable goes through the back and it doesn't go through the front. Now this all depends on the model that you bought, but you can just lay it on top and try to figure out how you want it to display. You could just have it going straight through the front, and that's also fine. It just depends whatever you want for your design. Now I did go very slowly on this process because I didn't want to make the hole too big so it doesn't show too much and it just fits just right. And after you've made that hole, now it's time to try to fit the face, which is going to be where the phone actually lays on and how it charges. Now, this also takes a lot of process of going back and forth, testing it out, the thickness as I mentioned before, and try to make everything that fits just flush with every single side. I do recommend to just try to do the top and bottom first, make those fit, and this is the way that I did it. Well, then once you glue it, then you could cut the sides to the same dimensions as the board and your final dimension. Now we're going to move on to attaching the device to the board. Now for this I do recommend hot glue, and it is what I will use just because it's a circuit board. You don't want it to be sticking to anything differently, or if you use glue it might interfere with the thickness. You just want to put a little bit in around the sides. Now the device that I got actually has some lights, which is pretty cool, and you're going to see how it turns out at the end. So I actually want to make sure that the light goes through, so I use the clear glue as well. You want to center this in the middle where you have sanded down pretty much as a little round piece that you sand down in the middle to make sure that you have the least amount of wood between the device and your phone. Once it all fits, you can actually start putting the pieces together and actually glue the face onto the board. You can do this with regular wood glue. And as you can see, I put the cable through as well, and I'm actually going to fill that hole as well with some putty that I'm going to make. Always remember to test out in different stages. Make sure that it's actually charging your phone and you're not having any problems. Now, you saw me grab a glue stick and try to put it on the side. I was like, I actually have these two little gaps and I want to be able to see the light, and I actually thought of melting down the glue stick and just putting it there, but I actually just decided not to because it's going to waste a lot of glue, and it actually looks perfectly fine with that little slit, and it lets the light go through, and it looks awesome at night. Now for the base of the phone, where the phone's actually going to sit on, actually it's going to stand on, you just need a scrap wood that you have laying around. It's just going to be a little holder. You can measure it, cut it to dimensions, and just glue it on. Now here you're going to see me cut everything down to its final dimensions very carefully, since I do have a wire that I do not want to cut. Make sure it's nice and smooth on all the sides, and put the final touches of glue everywhere. Now after you have sanded, you do want to make a 45-degree cut at the bottom so it actually stands at an angle for your phone to rest on, so it's not completely flat. If you want it completely flat, then you're good to go, but I actually wanted an actual stand, and I just cut it, which later I'm going to be holding now with just some brad nails and then just a screw right through the middle. Make sure you let everything dry overnight so it's nice and it won't fall off or it won't break off. At this point, I'm going to line everything up. Just put some brad nails just to hold it down. Make sure everything's in place. drive a pilot hole, and then put my screw through the base. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this build. It is awesome. I will be using it on my nightstand. It is so easy and so much better just to drop your phone instead of having to do just grab the plug and plug it in. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you know anybody that would like to do this build, please make sure you share it with them. Don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below how did your build go. And thank you again, and I'll see you in the next build.